Oh, good morning, Jason.
Morning, Paul. How are you?
Really well. Thanks for taking the time on this video.
My pleasure.
Look, I thought we'd just start by talking about the Tribel story, the startup. You built a business out of Aon previously, and you brought a number of your team with you. Talk to us about that journey. It might be scary for some people, having stepped out of a very large organisation of Aon and charting your own course. What led you to do that?
Well, yeah, definitely agree. Very scary, I must say. A team of very capable, passionate people in the financial advisory sector during a period of significant change as a result of the Royal Commission, to discuss with them to embark on exiting a large global corporate like Aon was a very challenging thing to do. But again, me, like the rest of the team, I'm passionate about financial advice and the wellbeing it helps provide for the broader community. So it actually wasn't a difficult decision to make. The scary part was actually concluding the transaction in a management buyout with a large global corporate. But more importantly, engaging the team that were going to come with that transaction to be passionate and part of the journey.
Yeah, and look, you've done a sensational job of bringing that team along. Your product is your people, so it's absolutely critical, and you've done a sensational job doing that. So despite doing so well a job, the market's still highly competitive. It's very crowded, and you've got to cut through the clutter of all that change that's going on and bring clients on the journey, as well as bring new interest from new clients. So how are you going about doing that?
Well, I think it goes back to, again, the start of the journey, and that was making sure that we set in place a trajectory for the first 3 years. And funnily enough, 1st of May this year, 2022, will be our 3-year anniversary.
Wow,
of the MBO. And that was all about making sure that we provided clear, concise communication to our clients. We had a clear, clean brand, which, although had some references towards our global parent that we came out of, but it was to set us aside, remove the clutter. There's lots happening in the financial planning industry, and it's about making it simple for the end consumer to understand. The history of financial advice, like accounting and other financial services firms, was the complexity and sophistication of what we knew was the thing we sold. Come to us and we'll sort all that out. The market's moved in that space. It's now providing clear, concise messaging to help people get educated and understand more, so that when they do come to us, we're a facilitator of the end outcome, which is a better financial wellbeing outcome over time.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, look, absolutely. The process of explaining to your people the move out of Aon to Tribel, you've talked about that. What about the process of moving your clients across from the security and safety and familiarity of Aon through to Tribel? How did that go for you?
We spent a lot of time in the way we positioned the brand, positioned, and gratefully, the journey of the team moving out of Aon into the new environment meant that, from a client point of view, the core factor of their relationship with Tribel and with Aon was an individual, and those individuals came with the process.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, because they were part of the journey, they were the ones who helped create the brand, the name, the vision, what we want to stand for. The conversation that they were having with clients was passionate, heartfelt, and transparent and honest about why. And I think that made it really easy for us.
So building trust and meaning in this environment is so challenging. We've talked about driving authenticity and meaning for clients. Talk to me a bit more about financial wellness and how, and unpack that for us a bit as to what that means and how that turns up as a benefit for your clients.
Wellbeing overall has a number of pillars to it. It can be 5, 6. In my world, that's 3. One is social wellbeing. The other is physical wellbeing. The other is mental wellbeing. And what sits behind all of those is financial wellbeing. Yeah. And there's lots of research in the marketplace that if you manage the financial wellbeing of somebody, it helps deliver on those other three components. So it gives people more time and focus on looking after their physical wellbeing. It relieves the stress and pressure around their mental wellbeing. Yeah. It takes away all those challenges. We've all heard the throwaway statistics of how many people get divorced, and the underlying factor in divorces these days is generally financial. So if you start to look after those things, and then you help people feel comfortable in their life, and this isn't about making people wealthier than what they can naturally be with their capital contributions through income and things they do personally in their working life. This is about making people feel good about that, comfortable with that, and not stressed about that. And then when they do that, they get to the social parts, which is about giving back to community. How do I free myself up and feel good about all those things? And I give back to community. And all the research, some research around the globe shows that if you can focus on financial wellbeing, it sort of underpins those other three and helps somebody become well totally in all of those areas. So we focused on that part. It's about making sure we deliver on the financial wellbeing to then help people with those other factors in their life.
Yeah. I completely concur. It's sort of managing the whole person, isn't it? They're rather than just their own personal balance sheet or being their personal CFO, you're actually thinking about their goals, their aspirations, their functional needs, and critically their emotional needs as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we've still got a bit of a journey to go on. It's only been, as I said earlier, 3 years, 1st of May, and we've now built that, a solution around financial advice, accounting, and finance. The next stages of our growth will be how do we enhance and help people in those other wellbeing areas, such as the social, emotional, and physical, and that'll be a journey we'll look to go on over time.
Yeah. So I guess apart from the growth that you've had in your own business, including building out an accounting practice now and setting that up along with financial planning et al. Let's talk about the financial planning industry and just the degree of change. You've over the last 3 years traversed a phenomenal amount of change, lifting out a team and setting up your own practice, building that out and dimensionalizing that beyond financial planning. But what are the broader sort of challenges and opportunities you think the financial planning industry itself is facing? We know about the Royal Commission and just the impact that's had, but that's only part of it, isn't it? What about the other, challenges and opportunities facing the industry?
Yeah, look, it really needs to be a considered view about a total restructure of the industry, in my opinion. If you look at its complexity from a compliance and regulatory point of view, a bit similar to our tax system, it's a patchwork of fixes that have been put over problems for decades and decades without a fundamental restructure of outcomes that deliver to a client's need. So cost of advice is unachievable for most Australians. Why is that? Well, we have a compliance and regulatory framework that costs significantly more money than it used to. Ultimately, the end consumer has to pay for that. So I think there's definitely a position for regulators, legislators to think about how financial advice is reconstructed, where ultimately, in my view, it's a liability issue. Today, we have independent financial planners who have their own license. There's then aggregator financial licenses, which we're a part of, who provide services. How do all of those individuals provide comfort to their consumer or their client that in the event of an error occurring, that there's fundamentally a support system that provides compensation for that? And today it's all positioned at an individual. So as a result of it positioned as an individual financial advisor, that stops attracting individuals into our marketplace as trying to access talent, because they think, well, if I've got to be liable for 100% of everything I do, and there's a cost associated to doing that, that detracts from new entrants wanting to think about joining our industry. Whereas you have mid-sized firms like ourselves, larger firms and boutiques, where the corporate, the business should be wearing the liability for the advice provision to a consumer based on the infrastructure it supports. So I think there's a need to, and I don't have all the answers naturally, but there's a need to think about a total reworking and structure change for the industry around how consumers access advice affordably, and remove a lot of the historical legislation and regulation that provides no protection from the end consumer. Yeah,
indeed. So I suppose you've done I know that you've done a sensational job of attracting and retaining the best and the brightest, across your firm to leave the very significantly sized business to come across and join what was then a very small business and move forward. I suppose as we close, what advice would you provide to anyone who was considering a career in financial planning? I mean, from my point of view, it's such a critical fundamental plank in people's futures, and financial planners have got a critical role to play. So to me, it's a very attractive career option. But if someone was thinking about a career in financial planning, what advice or guidance would you provide for them?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting question that you often get posed. We are lucky enough that we run some internships regularly within the firm to give people exposure to an opportunity to get experience so that they can enter the marketplace in their chosen field. And that's not always a financial services field. But the conversations you have with individuals like that is around first choose a career which is about helping people, supporting individuals who do not have the knowledge, capability or experience that we may have to put themselves in a better financial position and achieve their lifestyle goals. Secondly is around look at our profession for what it will be, not what it was.
Critical point.
If you look back in history, it took 475 years for accounting to be considered a profession.
Wow, I did not know that.
If you look at financial advice in Australia, it started with the life insurance days. And it's only around about 75 to 80 years young. And we are on the cusp of being considered, in all ostensive purposes, a profession. And there's hallmarks around a profession, and that's education standards and associations and regulation and oversight by regulators and legislators. So we're not far away from that. So what I would say to individuals considering a professional career, look at where we will be, jump on that journey. Don't look at where we've come from, because any industry that has had a journey, you can always find areas of turmoil and challenge that they've been through to get to where they are today.
Yeah, fantastic. Jayson Walker from Tribel. Look, we've really appreciated your time. Your final answer there basically summed it up in terms of your future focus and what you've already created, and certainly what you will continue to create going forward with the great team you've assembled around you and the group of businesses that you've created from the absolute ground up. So, Jayson, we really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Paul, and nice to be with you.